What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Movie Emporium's spoiler-filled discussion of Deadpool and Wolverine, newest MCU Marvel movie starring Deadpool and Wolverine. If you're here, you obviously have seen the movie by now. If you're not, why are you not watching the movie? But be aware there are full spoilers, full cameos. Everything will be talked about in this movie, in this review, or this discussion, as you can call it. So, Deadpool and Wolverine, I'm assuming it's going to be a huge hit. It's probably going to be one of the biggest films of the year, to be fairly honest. Might get up there in, Barbenheimer territory or something like that, maybe bigger than that. I have a feeling it's going to be in the Spider-Man No Way Home, or at least the 2 billion category after people watch this movie, because this is kind of like, Deadpool's version of No Way Home. There are a ton of cameos. It's dealing with the nature of the MCU, but it's told through Deadpool's point of view, where he literally talks and points out every single thing you can imagine that is not only wrong with the MCU, but has been a problem at least for the last 5 years, and maybe the last 25 years, or however long the Marvel movies have been made and put around. So with that said, you're here to wonder what is the idea, or you already know the idea behind Deadpool and Wolverine. Deadpool is losing his universe, of course, to the TVA. Mr. Paradox, played by Matthew Macfadyen, has come in and decided he's going to delete the entire significant universe that Deadpool lives in, which is like 10,051. And the reason for that is because their anchor point, which is of course Logan, died, and therefore the timelines are causing issues. Why that is, I'm a little confused, because I thought Loki took care of this, but who knows if this takes place before Loki. I don't entirely know. It's never fully explained. But in essence, Mr. Paradox is using a time ripper, as he calls it, to destroy this universe. And Deadpool is not going to let that happen. As we see, he takes down very viciously a lot of TVA agents. He punches Mr. Paradox in the face. And in the process, one of the great moments of this movie is basically Deadpool using the TVA device to find Wolverine, the perfect Wolverine, to encapsulate his world, to put his world back into positivity or into flux to make it work better and stuff like that. So what's great about what the cameos do in this movie, and what I truly love, is the fact that they don't feel like terrible cameos. They don't feel like they're just kind of thrown in there. They're similar to No Way Home, where they actually serve a purpose in the Deadpool universe, but they serve a purpose to the story itself. The first part is when he's trying to look for Wolverine, and what's great about that is the different versions of Wolverine he finds. There's not a lot of clips out there, unfortunately, because they're trying to keep these spoilers tight as they can. But just know that, like, he finds a tiny Wolverine that's like really short, like a really like 4 foot tall Wolverine, which is great. He finds one that has been crucified on a cross. He finds one that has an eye patch, which people thought was Daniel Radcliffe, but it's not. It's the eye patch. He finds Old Man Logan, and then he finds, of course, another Wolverine, which is really jacked, and which is probably one of the best cameos in the movie, because the one funny thing about the superhero world is poor Henry Cavill was a guy who finally got his take of Superman, but was kind of thrust down the drain because of what Zack Snyder did to him. But Henry Cavill was an individual that was up for a lot of different roles, whether it be Bond or, some characters in the MCU, Superman, and stuff like that. But he's never gotten his shot. So having him play a variant of Wolverine is pretty great, to be fairly honest. It's really funny. When he turns around and Deadpool goes, "Oh my God," and he actually, makes it known that it's Henry Cavill. I thought that was pretty funny. And that's a lot of what Deadpool does in this movie. It's basically MCU's wanting to rectify what happened in the early, which I didn't want to go into too much spoilers because it would have spoiled like kind of the cameos, but it's a way for not only Deadpool, in a lot of what the MCU has done recently, which is reconfigure, try to bring a lot of this universe that has been really downplayed and really put into laughter territory when it comes to like Age of Ultron and Thor: The Dark World. It's trying to course correct and actually try to give like livelihood, try to give some appreciation for, though those films in the early 2000s weren't great, there is some stuff to love there. And I love what the cameos do in this movie. Now this is true full spoiler, the cameos in this movie are all Fox characters. They're all characters that either, or actually, I guess Blade is not really a Fox character, but his character was kind of, after the first movie, maybe the second movie, was really kind of put into flux, and then the idea of like them trying to bring Blade back has been kind of a problem. But it's a way to rectify and a way to give appreciation to what the Fox universe has done in the last 23 years, ever since the original X-Men movie came out, and of course Blade came out. And I gotta say, it's some pretty genius marketing, because you get Elektra. She's in, unfortunately, the IMDb credits right now. You get Elektra, but then you get characters that you really weren't expecting. First character, of course, is Wesley Snipes' Blade. I think that's going to get probably one of the single biggest pops in the movie. And what I mean by that is because they've been working so long trying to get Mahershala Ali to play Blade, and that kind of problem and situation, that Wesley Snipes has been very vocal about it. And what they do, the fact they bring back Wesley Snipes' Blade, I know some people that are going to be hugely excited for that, because it's awesome. He's well-rounded. He makes some jokes about the fact that they only can't get any Blades to put into this franchise. But then you got, I said, Elektra. You got, Jennifer Garner coming back as Elektra, and of course she's a very maligned character. She makes a huge jab, of course, at Ben Affleck because of their relationship and how it fell apart because of J-Lo and that whole situation. I love the fact that when they're talking about it, they're like, "Oh no, she was killed." Do you care about the fact that Daredevil was killed? She's like, "Eh, it is what it is." It's such a F you to Ben Affleck. It's really, really funny. Then you get Dafne King back as X-23, which is really appreciative. I really question how she found herself into the Void. The Void's basically what you saw in Loki. Just all these variants are just in this kind of hellscape that's, full of like 20th Century Fox logos, and you see the ship from Thanos' ship and stuff like that, and you see the helicarrier and all these kinds of stuff. I think you see the Statue of Liberty thing from X-Men and stuff like that. But they've been relegated to this because they're all in development hell. They're all in this unfortunate discourse of like, we hate these characters. Wesley Snipes became very hated after that Blade Trinity movie, which had Ryan Reynolds in it, believe it or not. So I think there was a level of like, Ryan Reynolds appreciates Wesley Snipes, even though I'm sure that it doesn't do very well, that type of thing. I think, honestly, outside of Wesley Snipes, I think the two hugest pops in this movie are going to be Chris Evans, who comes back and not as Captain America, but of course as Johnny Storm. I think that's pretty ingenious, to be fairly honest. That's pretty funny, and because this is a radar film, he's very vulgar. And we'll talk about the end credit sequence, which involves him, which I thought was going to be the Fantastic Four introduction of the characters, the new characters. But Chris Evans all these characters are given much larger cameo roles than you would expect. But I love the fact that they use him. They do the fact that he goes flame on. And because we have, I think it's Aaron Stanton or Aaron Stanford, or however you say his name, who plays Pyro in the X-Men films, uses his flame ability, uses his fire ability, and sucks the flames out of Johnny Storm's body, causing Johnny to fall to his what I thought was his death. But because this movie is kind of similar to like a Mad Max situation, he's taken to Cassandra, and of course Deadpool is basically throwing him under the bus, or we think he's throwing him under the bus, and he basically gets all his skin ripped off of him because of what he said about Cassandra Nova. And once again, when you get to the end credits, you'll know. And it's shocking how Johnny Storm is killed, but it's pretty fantastic. Once again, when you see Chris Evans, you're thinking, oh, it's Captain America. No. Once again, think about it. We're in the 20th Century Fox realm where all these characters are relegated to the Void, which is basically saying they're all relegated to the non-existent zone because the MCU is as big as it is. And it is the nice thing about what Deadpool Wolverine does is it takes all these characters and just gives you an appreciation for them. I mean, they're not very good films, but at least you understand that these actors really tried to make interesting films or interesting movies. They just weren't very good. The directors weren't very good. It's just the unfortunate nature of the early 2000s. But the hugest pop, I think, is going to be, and it's the same scene where you're introduced to Elektra and Blade, is the one individual that has for many years, probably longer than Mahershala Ali, to get a movie to go together. And that, of course, is Channing Tatum as Gambit. This is a movie that I think has been in development since early 2000s, and I think just kind of went by the wayside. And when I say it's the best cameo in the entire movie, I mean it is the best cameo in the entire movie. Channing Tatum's a very funny individual. He's just proven himself in the Jump Street movies. He's proven himself in the different forms of cameos he's been in. He's really, really funny. He's really good at what he does. Like similar to Ryan Reynolds, where he was a laughingstock and he just kind of came into his own. But Gambit is comic accurate. He uses the cards to an amazing effect. He has the staff. He has the costume, the look and feel of what we remember from X-Men 90, the 90s X-Men, and it's beautiful. He's also Airhead, similar to Deadpool in a lot of ways, to be fairly honest. But it's amazing. Like, he is just absolutely hilarious. He's great. He doesn't have like the humility that Blade and Elektra have. But there is something awe-inspiring and amazing of what Channing Tatum is doing here. And it leads to this amazing scene where they attack the big, giant man fortress that Cassandra Nova has. And my main issues are with this scene because it's really cool to see these 4 individuals, whether it be X-23, Blade, Elektra, or Gambit, where they start fighting. And, of course, there's another issue with Toad and Azrael, and of course Lady Deathstrike, which are all played by the actors who played them, like Ray Park and Kelly Hugh and stuff like that. And I appreciate they brought, but they're in the background and they don't do anything. Actually, Vinnie Jones didn't come back for Juggernaut, so there's a different individual. I don't know who's playing him. But I think what I had a problem with is when they start fighting, when everybody starts battling or whatever, the action is similar to Transformers, where it's very difficult to see what's exactly going on. The death of the Juggernaut, the death of Toad, the death of Lady Deathstrike, and so on and so forth are fun in there. You can see what's happening. But because they decided to use Steadicam, which is when they hold the camera on their shoulders and they're kind of running around like it's a battlefield or a war film, it really takes out of the film. Like, it needs to be more focused. It needs to be more, you need to understand the moves. Like, there's so many good fights in this movie between Deadpool and Wolverine in the car and on the Void where the 20th Century Fox logo is at, that when you get to this really, really important scene that a lot of people are going to be, this is like the best moments of this movie because of what it's doing. I just wish they could have focused it more, less kineticism, less like shaky cam. It becomes a little kind of queasy when it comes to your stomach feeling and kind of the brain trying to comprehend everything. So when it's focused and when it focuses on like a couple characters, I think it works when it comes to the movie realm and how it plays out. But I think when it tries to do too much is when Shawn Levy and the crew and the cinematographer and stuff like that really kind of fall by the wayside. And I don't hate it for that, because you get to see Wesley Snipes is a badass again. You see Channing Tatum use those cards to like full effect. It's pretty awesome. Dafne King, who comes back as X-23, is amazing. How she kills Juggernaut because they need his helmet to kind of take down Cassandra Nova. It's just really appreciative, like what they're doing. It just Elektra uses their size and stuff like that. It's really cool and really awesome, but it just needs more focus. But that's more of a nitpick. You're gonna be so in love with this moment, and like the fact that they took such respect and such kind of restraint, and they actually made these characters a little more dimensional, and they give them like scenes. I really appreciate that. It really makes it feel like that this movie really wants you to understand that this world, though can be cheesy and kind of crazy, has some humanity to it. And you see that with Deadpool himself, with like how he's working and like how he broke up with Vanessa, which was a really weird moment. I don't understand how that kind of played out, and how he knows about 626. My friend brought this up because we were allowed to invite a person to the screening. So I took my friend, and he brought up this really interesting concept of like the beginning of this movie, after Deadpool was fighting all the TVA agents, stuff like that, brutally, really funny scene. The fact that he like eviscerates Logan's corpse from the Logan movie and just uses it as like a weapon device, like when Kong used that like the small ape as like a battering ram and stuff like that. That's what Deadpool is using with like the corpse. He's like violating the corpse. It's really funny while he's dancing to Bye 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 from NSYNC. It's great stuff. It really shows like the amazing level of detail when it comes to opening sequences to Deadpool. But back to what I was saying. So my friend brings up this point where Wade actually goes to 626, and that's where the Avengers and all the MCU is pretty much taking place. There is rumors that Fantastic Four's movie is going to like reconfigure everything when it comes to like Deadpool's universes, which is like 10,051, I think it is, and of course 626. But he brought up a point. He's like, how does Deadpool even know about 626? Yes, he is fourth wall breaking. Yes, he's a merc with a mouth. Yes, he has that device that he took from Cable. But that's more of a time device than anything. It's not a universe hopping device. So it's really really weird to think of how he's able to go. And I mean, it's not the joke's funny because he wants to be an Avenger, and there's actually some heart there to it when he talks about he needs some purpose. But we have Happy Hogan there because Jon Favreau is basically, outside of Dave Filoni, is like the person that is kind of Disney's kind of go-to right now. But they have that discussion, but it's just kind of, you got to wonder how exactly he knows about 626, whether they'll explain it. I don't know. It's just one of those things because the TVA is there. They know about his journeys and stuff like that. They know what he's capable of. So he's like, why is he special? Which they don't go into too many details. You know, he's taken basically hostage by the TVA and Mr. Paradox, stuff like that. I don't know. It's one of those things where maybe someone can explain it to me. Maybe someone knows exactly why after seeing this movie, why that is. There's a really funny moment where Deadpool is basically Iron Man. He's dying. And you see his face, and you see like Thor there. It's like a reconfigured scene, which is pretty funny. I'm not a huge fan of the TVA stuff, to be fairly honest. I'm just kind of getting some negatives. I like Matthew Macfadyen. I think he's a fantastic actor. I think he's underrated. But I think his plot is just a way for a plot to happen. He's using the Time Ripper that he's creating to get rid of universes faster, to snip the universe that's falling apart in the bud and stuff like that. I think the TVA is just not a really interesting concept, to be fairly honest. I think it kind of ruins the whole idea of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I know they have the sacred timeline and stuff like that, but I never really felt anything for the TVA, so I really don't think it's something that I know it has to be in this movie because they need to connect the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but I don't really find anything interesting. They bring back, you know, the one lady from the Loki show, and she has a really great moment with Wolverine at the end when they have to like stop Cassandra Nova from using the Time Ripper, and they do a kind of a Guardians of the Galaxy joke where the Wolverine and Deadpool kind of hold hands as they destroy the machine, and you see Wolverine's like his suit kind of fly off and stuff like that. But I don't know, I just don't find the TVA that interesting, to be fairly honest. I don't find it really that fascinating. I think it worked in the Loki show, but it brings in a whole new facet of stuff that didn't really need to be in this movie. You could have perfectly had the time thing or something to do it, but they needed it so so Deadpool could time hop and stuff like that. And I guess it's fine. I don't know. It's like the Vanessa stuff. It's weird. But that's just my qualms. But like I said, there's so many great moments where, you know, Deadpool just straight out bashes 20th Century Fox, and he makes a joke where, you know, he's like running up to the camera, pulls the camera, he's like, "Take that, 20th Century Fox, you losers!" And he busts the camera and says, "I'm going to Disneyland." It's really funny, and there's a lot of that fourth wall breaking jokes that happen in this about, you know, but also it's really nice how Logan kind of puts him in his place. He's like, "You're always talking, you're always making jokes, you're a loser, you'll never be accepted." And, you know, on top of everything, it's really funny and really great, but also kind of heartbreaking and sad. And watching Logan have to deal with the fact that he walked away as his whole entire crew was killed, and he killed a whole bunch of people, and he's a drunk, and he's very much that old man Logan style character in a lot of respects. And, you know, they do a lot of that nice stuff with Logan and, you know, Deadpool, and how, you know, they fight in the car. It's really bloody, and the fact that these two guys can be regenerative and stuff like that, and it allows for some great moments. And, you know, it's that kind of stuff that really works. And then you have Dogpool, which is, there's a really funny scene where there's this like variant of Deadpool, which is Nice Pool, and it's just Ryan Reynolds without a mask with really gorgeous hair, and he has the world's ugliest dog, which of course Deadpool really loves. And, you know, of course they use a scene where Nice Pool is used as a shield as he's being shot, and it's just a really funny scene until he gets his head blown off. And the only reason that Deadpool does it because he wants his golden guns, and it's some great stuff, and I really appreciate it. And there's so much meta stuff, and there's a lot of great callbacks in Happy Hogan's office where you see the Captain America shield from Iron Man and the Iron Man 2 suit box, and you see all kinds of stuff, and, you know, all kinds of Easter eggs all over the place. And, you know, the Fantastic Four mobile, and Red Skull, and Moon Knight's vehicles, and, you know, Sabretooth who gets his head cut off, and, you know, all these types of people. And on top of everything, you see almost every variant of Deadpool, including Lady Deadpool, which of course is voiced by Blake Lively, which is great. There's a nice joke about Blake Lively in the movie too. There's Headpool. There's Western Deadpool, which my friend thinks was Matthew McConaughey's voice. There's baby Deadpool, there's kid Deadpool, which has one of the funniest lines in the movie. The best part about the movie, one of the best moments, is the homage to the Daredevil / Oldboy one scene take in the hallway, but it takes place on the middle of a street and on a bus. And I can't remember what song they were using. I think it might have been like a prayer or something like that, or the whatever Madonna song they use. And it's just one long take of Deadpool fighting other Deadpools, and it's fantastic. Like, you see, it's violent, it's graphic. It is very much homage to Oldboy. It's very much an homage to, of course, you know, the Daredevil fight hall sequences like that. It's very much what this movie is doing and what it needs to do, which is be very fourth wall breaking, make commentary on how bad the MCU has been, which he very much does, and is a commentary on just Marvel movies in general, how wasted they can seem, how unnatural they can seem. And once again, like, the visuals and the cinematography, the look of this film are not very good. The fight, when Logan finally puts on the famous mask that he wears in most of the comics, which will get a huge pop, by the way, the CGI gets a little wonky, but it's so, you're so into it once again that you just love it for what it is. And I couldn't believe it was so nice to watch, like, Hugh Jackman and Logan's character, and going for all the things that we've always wanted that never got, and just the fact that he brings back the yellow costume, which, great joke, LA Rams joke, which I thought was pretty funny. But other than that, that's pretty much all the cameos. That's pretty much kind of the story beats. It's a lot of stuff in a 2 hour and 7 minute movie. It actually leads to the end credit sequence, which I was mentioning earlier with Chris Evans, where I thought it was gonna be like a setup for Fantastic Four, but basically Deadpool is doing the fourth wall break, and he comes up to the screen to us. He goes, "This is exactly what happened. This is exactly why I did what I did to Chris Evans's, of course, Johnny Storm character." And it's basically Chris Evans going on I would say, like, a 2-minute rant in the most vulgar way, most, like, saying things about Cassandra Nova that just, like, are brutal. You know, Cassandra Nova, of course, is the twin of Xavier, and there's some good stuff with her. But just, like, the most vulgar stuff you've heard from Chris Evans in quite a while, and it's pretty fantastic, and I appreciate it. And it's very funny what happens to him in the movie. But with that said, this is a long spoiler discussion because there's a lot to talk about, but there's so many Easter eggs. You know, Jared Buckendahl puts out a great Easter egg video, which I want to recommend here. So I don't really do the Easter egg thing because it takes a while, but watch his video because it'll show you some things that are in the background that you'll see. But there's so much detail in this movie, so much playthrough, so much, like, just great stuff that you have to go watch several times over. This is just like why the cameos are important, how they work very well, like the movie itself and its nuts and bolts. And it's still a long video. I mean, this is probably gonna be close to a half hour long, and it's fantastic stuff. I really love Deadpool and Wolverine. It's not perfect, but I love it just the same for what it does and how it plays out. So overall, that's my spoiler discussion for Deadpool and Wolverine. I'm sure I missed some stuff. You'll probably tell me in the comments, but, you know, just know that that's a lot of stuff that I talked about. So anyways, with that said, that's going to do it for my take on this Deadpool Wolverine movie. Now in theaters, now you have seen it, and you're watching my spoiler discussion for a reason. So anyways, thank you so much for watching. Also, Incredible Hulk in the movie. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. In the comments below, what is your favorite moment of this movie? What's your favorite cameo? What is the thing that you noticed that just completely took you by surprise? Like I said, there's a lot of stuff, but anyways, let me know. Otherwise, if you like what you see on the channel, hit the subscribe button to join Movie Emporium. Hit that notification bell. Top to fun's coming next. If you like this video, awesome. Hit that like button. And as always, we'll see you guys on the next video. Peace out, guys.